I brought my wife a birthday cake and accidentally overheard her joking about my death for insurance money. I left that night, disappeared, and what happened after changed our marriage forever. I balanced the chocolate cake and fumbled for Mia's doorbell. Abigail's birthday surprise had taken 3 hours, her favorite German chocolate with cream cheese frosting. The front door stood slightly open. I heard Abigail's laugh from the kitchen. I swear, Mia, some days I fantasize about it. Her voice carried that wine-edged tone. What if Noah just didn't come home one day? Car accident, heart attack, whatever. The life insurance alone would set me free. I froze. Abby, that's horrible, Mia said, giggling. Is it, though? I'd be the tragic young widow. Everyone would feel sorry for me. And I'd have money to actually travel, maybe find someone who doesn't spend Saturday mornings organizing his sock drawer. My hands went numb. The cake box slipped, but I caught it. He's not that bad, Mia offered weakly. He's suffocating me. Always hovering, always planning our future. I can't breathe in that house anymore. Sometimes I look at him and think, just die already. Make it easy for both of us. I set the cake on the porch step and walked to my car. My hands shook as I turned the key. The engine started on the second try. I drove home through familiar streets that suddenly looked foreign. In our driveway, I sat staring at the house we'd bought together, the mortgage we'd planned to pay off early, the garden she'd never helped me plant. I thought about the cake, still sitting on Mia's porch. I walked through our house like a stranger cataloging someone else's life. Wedding photos on the mantel, her books scattered on my organized shelves, the coffee mug she'd left that morning, lipstick stain on the rim. In our bedroom, I pulled out the suitcase from under the bed, the one from our Cabo honeymoon. I packed methodically, work clothes, toiletries, my father's watch. My phone buzzed. Abigail. Where are you? Mia found a cake on her porch, German chocolate. Did you? I hung up and turned off the phone. From my wallet, I pulled the bakery receipt. 3 hours of work, $47. I left it on her pillow with my wedding ring. The house key felt heavy as I set it on the kitchen counter. Theodore answered on the first ring. Noah, it's past midnight. Can I crash at your place for a few days? Of course. What happened? I looked around the kitchen one last time. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked past 12:30. I'll tell you when I get there. Theodore lived 20 minutes away in a duplex he'd inherited from his grandmother. His porch light was on when I arrived. He met me at the door in a bathrobe, took one look at my suitcase, and stepped aside. Guest rooms made up. Coffee? We sat at his kitchen table while I told him everything. He didn't interrupt, just listened and refilled my cup. What now? He asked finally. I stared at the steam rising from my coffee. Now I figure out what's left. I waited until Thursday, when Abigail would be at pottery class. I'd memorized her schedule over 7 years, a habit she'd called creepy attention to detail. The house felt different, colder. She'd moved furniture around, trying to fill spaces where my things used to be. I worked systematically, books from the study, my grandmother's china, the power drill from the garage, everything that was mine before we became us. My phone sat silent on the counter. 17 missed calls, 12 voicemails. I didn't need to listen. In her bedroom now, the receipt was gone. My ring remained on the pillow, placed inside the jewelry box I'd given her for our first anniversary. I found the bank statements in her desk drawer. She'd withdrawn $800 Tuesday, probably a lawyer consultation. Smart girl. I photographed every page, then put them back exactly where I'd found them. Checking account held $34,000. Savings had 18. I'd built most of that working overtime while she found herself in expensive hobbies. At the bank, I opened my own account and transferred half of everything. Legally, I had rights to more, but I wanted clean hands. The teller, Patricia, who'd processed our mortgage 3 years ago, looked uncomfortable. Will Mrs. Caldwell be joining you today? No, she won't. Back at Theodore's, I spread the financial documents across his dining table. Mortgage, car loans, credit cards, utilities, everything we'd tangled together. This is going to get ugly, Theodore said. I scrolled through the missed calls. All Abigail, except 2 from Mia. It already is. Theodore handed me coffee and the morning paper. I'd been staying with him for 2 weeks, falling into a routine more peaceful than anything I'd known in months. She's here, he said quietly. The knock was soft, tentative. My mess, I said. She looked smaller than I remembered, thinner. Her hair was shorter, making her look younger and more vulnerable. Noah. She held up a key card. You left this at the house, your gym membership. I took it without touching her fingers. Thanks. Can we talk? We are talking. Really talk. Please. I stepped onto the porch and closed the door. We sat on Theodore's front steps like awkward teenagers. I've been going to counseling, Dr. Martinez, 3 times a week. I waited. I know what you heard at Mia's. I know why you left. Her voice cracked. I was drunk and angry and stupid, but that doesn't excuse it. No, it doesn't. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to understand why I said those things, why I felt them. She pulled a folded paper from her purse. I wrote you a letter. Everything I should have said years ago. I didn't take it. Keep it. Read it to your therapist. Her face crumpled, but she nodded. The house feels empty without you. You wanted space to breathe. I wanted a lot of things that were wrong. She wiped her eyes. I joined a support group, people working through relationship patterns, addiction to drama, fear of intimacy. Turns out I check a lot of boxes. A car drove past. Normal life continuing around us. I'm glad you're getting help, I said finally. Are you? Really? I studied her face. The woman who'd wished me dead was working to understand herself. The woman I'd loved was somewhere underneath the damage. Yeah, I am. We met at Grounded, the coffee shop where we'd had our first date 8 years ago. I arrived early and claimed the corner table by the window. Abigail looked nervous when she walked in. She dressed carefully, the blue sweater I'd always liked, her hair pulled back the way she wore it when we were happy. Thank you for agreeing to this. Theodore thought it was a good idea. How is he? Tired of me sleeping on his couch. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. He was always too polite to kick you out. Our server approached. Abigail ordered her usual, oat milk latte, extra shot. I got black coffee. I brought something, she said, reaching into her bag. She pulled out a small white box tied with string. Inside was a slice of German chocolate cake. I had them remake it, the one you left at Mia's. I wanted to see what you'd spent 3 hours making for me. My throat tightened. And? It was perfect, just like you always tried to be for me. I stared at the cake. I wasn't perfect, Abigail. I was controlling, suffocating. You said so yourself. I said a lot of things. She leaned forward. I've been thinking about our wedding day. Do you remember what you whispered during the ceremony? I remembered. That I'd love you through anything. I tested that promise pretty thoroughly. You did. The support group has homework assignments. Last week, I had to write down every cruel thing I've said to you in the past 2 years. It took 6 pages. The coffee shop buzzed around us. College students with laptops, a mother feeding her toddler, people living ordinary lives without broken promises. I can't undo the damage, she continued, but I want to try building something different, if you'll let me. What does that look like? Separate counseling for both of us. Couples therapy when we're ready. Me learning to communicate without cruelty. You learning that love doesn't mean managing every detail of my life. I took a bite of the cake. It tasted exactly like the one I'd made. I need time. I know. And space. And proof that this isn't just guilt talking. She nodded. What kind of proof? Keep going to therapy. Keep working on yourself. Not for me, but for you. And then? Then we'll see. 3 months later, I moved back into the house. Not our house, my house now, according to the paperwork Abigail had signed. She'd insisted on transferring her half of the deed to me. I don't want you wondering if I'm staying for financial reasons, she'd said. She kept her apartment across town. We were dating again, carefully, like strangers learning each other's boundaries. Thursday evenings for dinner and conversation, Saturday mornings for coffee and the farmer's market, Sunday afternoons for long walks where we practiced communication skills our therapists had taught us. This feels weird, she said one evening, washing dishes while I dried. Being a guest in what used to be my kitchen. Good weird or bad weird? Honest weird. I hung up the dish towel and turned to face her. Dr. Peterson thinks we're making progress. What do you think? I'd been asking myself that question for weeks. The woman standing in my kitchen looked like my wife, but she was someone new. Someone who said, "I'm sorry," when she hurt my feelings. Someone who asked what I needed instead of assuming she knew. I think we're learning who we are when we're not trying to fix each other. She nodded slowly. I miss sleeping next to you. I miss that too. But not enough to rush it. No, not enough to rush it. She pulled a folded receipt from her pocket, the one from the bakery, the one I'd left on her pillow months ago. I've been carrying this around. Reminder of the night I almost lost everything that mattered. I took it from her hands. The ink had faded slightly, but the numbers were still clear. $47 for a cake she'd never tasted until it was too late. What does Dr. Martinez say about carrying around guilt like a talisman? That it's not healthy. She smiled ruefully. But some guilt is earned. Some is. But you've done the work to change. That has to count for something. She moved closer, close enough that I could smell her lavender shampoo. Can I hug you? I opened my arms and she stepped into them. We held each other in the kitchen where I'd made coffee alone for months, where we'd fought about money and schedules and whose turn it was to take out the trash. I love you, she whispered against my chest. I love you too. Even after everything? Especially after everything. 1 year later, Abigail moved back in. We'd spent the intervening months rebuilding trust, brick by careful brick. Separate therapy sessions, couples counseling, date nights that felt both familiar and foreign. Learning to be married to each other instead of to the people we'd thought we were. I want to make you a cake, she said on the morning she brought her suitcases home. German chocolate, from scratch. You don't have to do that. I want to try. I watched her work in our kitchen again, measuring flour and sugar with the same methodical attention I'd always brought to tasks. She'd learned precision from me, just as I'd learned spontaneity from her. The frosting is too thick, she said, frowning at the bowl. Add a little milk, teaspoon at a time. She followed my advice without bristling, without insisting she could figure it out herself. Small changes that added up to something larger. The cake emerged golden and fragrant. We let it cool while we unpacked her clothes, hanging her dresses next to my shirts in the closet we'd once shared and lost and found again. I kept all your letters, I said, watching her arrange books on the shelf. What letters? The ones you wrote but never sent. Theodore told me about them. She paused, a novel half-shelved in her hands. He wasn't supposed to tell you that. 37 letters over 8 months. He said you wrote them when you were angry or sad or missing me. I did. Can I read them? She considered this. They're not very flattering to either of us. The best truths usually aren't. That evening, we sat on the couch with the letters spread between us and the cake on the coffee table. She read them aloud, her anger, her regret, her slow journey toward understanding herself. I listened without defending, just witnessing the story of how we'd broken and begun to heal. This one's from December, she said, unfolding a page covered in careful handwriting. Dear Noah, I dreamed about you last night. We were making breakfast together, and you were telling me about a book you'd read. I woke up missing conversations we never had. The cake sat untouched as she read letter after letter, her evolution tracked in ink and vulnerability. The last one is from 2 weeks ago. After you'd already decided to move back? After I'd decided I wanted to try. She cleared her throat. Dear Noah, I don't know if we can fix what we broke, but I know we can't fix it apart. I love the person you're becoming in therapy. I love the person I'm becoming too. Maybe we can love who we are together. I reached for her hand. She let me take it. So, I said, what do you think? Should we try the cake? She smiled, the real smile I'd fallen in love with 8 years ago. I think we should. It was perfect, sweet and rich and worth the wait.